Hi guys, so I reduced the noise as much as humanly possible, but this is the only hour that I can film that has this kind of lighting, and there are some people doing construction at the neighbors, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. First order of business is my bed would like to redeem itself from a previous video that I did, and it was in rough shape at the time, so this is what it looks like now. I just wanted to show you that it's not always that bad. Another thing is that I wanted to show you this thing that I made. So as I mentioned, I write a lot of fiction, and I've been trying to create a lot of different ways to stave off of writer's block, and one of the things that I came up with is printing out quotable quotes from the books that I've read recently or in the past 1 or 2 years, and I put them in this cute container that I got just so I can put it on my desk and of course not copy the quotes, but just to get that, that that vibe, that writer vibe. So I have all these quotes that I printed out from different books. Let me show you. It also works as a good fortune cookie type thing because some of these lines are not just funny, they're good. They're good life quotes as well. Writers are so great with words. See, look. This is the quote for today. It's by Lucy Parker from her book Pretty Face. And yeah, maybe you can get an idea from that. Maybe you can do that too if you write stuff and sometimes are not as inspired, because if there's one thing I've learned from writing for a really long time, it's that you don't stay as motivated to a specific concept from start to finish. You have to just stay consistent. The fire isn't always there. Some days you just can't go on. And I've also done something else, little writing prompts on popsicle sticks, and I will show you that when it's done. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about DNFing. A lot of factors can go into a person not finishing a book, but for me personally, I can put up with a lot of not so nice things, some books that were released in the earlier years, 2015 and earlier, tend to be have a different tone, because of course it was things were different then. A lot of things you could say, a lot of notions were okay, and they're not as okay anymore. And I can put up with a lot reading, especially when I consider the year that it was published in. But yeah, sometimes I do DNF, not often, but I do DNF. I know that a book that is not that good, of course it's the writer's doing, but I can also sympathize with that plight, because writing something for one story for months at a time can cause a person to have it sort of sands off the wider perspective in favor of the chosen path, the path that they have chosen there to put their characters in. So yeah, I think it's really important to have editors who are different people. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I wrote from start to finish. I wrote this this book called Take One. I didn't really publish it other than online, and I must have edited that shit like 10 times by myself. But I read it again recently, and it turns out it wasn't like, how did I not notice that she was so conceited? The character that I wrote, she has this upper crust background, and editing at that time like 10 times, I didn't notice. I just had rose colored glasses when it came to like editing her character, and then rereading it again now in 2022, I just started noticing all these like it wasn't my best, and sometimes you don't notice it while you're writing, or like while you're in the first like 3 rounds of edits, because you're so close to the material. And yeah, I think that can happen to anyone. So like I just wanted to point that out. Like, we don't have to be so hard on the comments to these writers, because a lot of the time they pour a lot into these books. And yeah, but anyway, let's get into the books that I have DNF'd recently and why I DNF'd. I just want to make clear that when I do DNF a book, I don't rate them. I don't put out a rating, because I don't think it's fair to the author to rate their work when I didn't give it like a fair shot, because I didn't read it from start to finish. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first book that I have for you is The Takeover by T.L. Swan, and I didn't finish this book because within the first few pages I already noticed that the protagonist was a lot hostile, like really hostile towards the guy, the love interest, from the very start. And when it's like that from like the first page, it kind of takes you by surprise, and I didn't really like get the motivation for such hostility. I mean, of course there was a backstory, but I think it should have been fleshed out, the backstory, so that you could sort of lay foundation to that level of hostility towards the love interest. I think it's an enemies to lovers type thing. But yeah, I just thought that she was unnecessarily hostile without any sufficient foundation to back it. The second book is Royally Rearranged by Emma St. Clair. And I DNF'd this book because, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but there was a prologue, right? And the prologue sort of gave away, like, of course it's a romance, it's a rom-com, it's gonna end happily ever after, but sort of putting that happily ever after, like they had kids, and it's in the prologue, the happily ever after part, it was sort of a flash forward to the future. That was the kind of prologue that it was. So you already like have that happily ever after without having to work for it. I think it sort of ruined the surprise, and yeah, just gave away the happily ever after, and I didn't have to work for it. All right, third book, A Secret for a Secret by Helena Hunting. And first off, I can put up with a lot, but I could not put up with King and Queenie. Come on. No, it was not for me. The lovers, that was their name, and I just couldn't take them seriously. And also, I think that the characters crash landed towards their first intimate scene. Like, I couldn't really feel the chemistry up until that, like, the first intimate scene sort of came out of nowhere, because I couldn't really feel the connection between them. Next book, Park Avenue Prince by Louise Bay. And this book, I can't really point out a specific thing about this book. It just couldn't sustain my attention. It didn't really hold my attention, so I just dropped it. Next up is 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Lewis. And I DNF'd this book because the heroine, I'm telling you, she clung to that one chance encounter with the love interest and freaking spun her own love story in her mind by herself after that one chance encounter. It was just so much. It was so strong. She came off too strong for me. And yeah, it's just my opinion, but like it creeped me out a little. It was too much. Our next book is Scoring Wilder, and it's by R.S. Gray, who, if you've watched my other videos, you know that I have read other books by R.S. Gray and loved them, but I just wasn't a fan of this one, particularly because right from the off, the chick was a bit too conceited for my taste, and I get that she's like next star athlete, but yeah, too conceited, and I couldn't really put it up with it, especially in the headspace that I was in at the time. So yeah, I DNF'd. So next book is Adorkable by Cookie O'Gorman. Did I say that correctly? I hope I did. Sorry if I didn't. But yeah, I DNF'd this book because this might be a small thing, but it bugged me so much. The guy said the girl's name, Sal. I think that her name was Sal. He said Sal like so many freaking times in the first like few chapters, like so many damn times. Sal, Sal, Sal. Every time he would address the girl, he would say Sal, and it bothered me so much that I DNF'd. Stronger people would probably put up with that, but I couldn't. Okay, so our last book is Marriage on Madison Avenue by Lauren Lane, and I have had no luck with any Lauren Lane books. Maybe you could recommend something that I would like, but I've tried several times to read something by Lauren Lane, but she's not my cup of tea, or like her writing, at least the ones that I've tried. And yeah, of course, I might try something else later on, but yeah. Marriage on Madison Avenue, I DNF'd because I think it's a, if I remember correctly, it's a best friends to lovers trope, but they had zero chemistry, even as friends. I couldn't feel like any sort of build-up towards them eventually becoming lovers, and I read like a chunk of this book. I didn't like DNF after the first chapter. Like, I read a good portion of this book and I just couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel the chemistry. So yeah, I DNF'd. Okay, so those were all the books that I DNF'd, and if you've ever DNF'd a book, maybe you'd want to share why. And yeah, I will see you guys on the next video.